Hey everyone, it's Tiffany with Rock Bottom Wellness and Tiffany Flayton Health, and I'm here today to talk to you about the stages of dealing with hypothyroidism. So I hear this all the time from people, so I've kind of consolidated all of this information, but it kind of goes along with the things that I dealt with myself. So sadly, this is a really common issue. So these are not anything scientific as far as the stages go. This is something that I have seen and experienced myself over and over again. So I'm just consolidating into the stages and describing them as such so that you can get an idea that if you're struggling with any of these things, you are not alone and it is frustrating and there is help for it. So that's the beauty of all of this. So today, let's talk about the stages of dealing with hypothyroidism. Stage 0, okay? This is where there would be nothing in your wheelhouse that would suggest that you have a thyroid condition. You might feel tired. You might have a little bit of depression or sadness or just feeling that all is not right with the world. You might be a little bit anxious here and there, maybe more situationally. Maybe you're starting to feel that your weight doesn't come off as easy as it used to, and then you just think, well, I'm getting older, so that explains that. You may have some fluid retention that you didn't really notice before, where you're starting to have swollen feet or hands after sitting for a while, which, yes, sometimes is completely normal. But when it's happening routinely, there could be something connected to your dysregulated or dysfunctional thyroid gland way before a diagnosis even happens. So you start to think that you maybe don't have a lot of willpower. You might think that you just need to do more to take that weight off, give yourself some more energy, feel better, and you might just feel stuck and not know what to do. But it's probably not so bothersome that you're not maybe dealing with it every single day, where it's not in the forefront of your mind. You're not yet waking up wondering how you're going to get through the day. Okay, so this stage can last a really, really long time, and it looks a little bit different for everyone. All right, so as do all of these stages. Okay, so stage 1, this is where your fatigue becomes more of a regular routine. This is where you actually think, gosh, I might be depressed, or I might actually have anxiety. It's not just a situational thing, or it's not just because I'm sad for whatever reason. You can't even think of a reason. You maybe start to exercise more because you thought, you know what? I hear that those endorphins from exercise are really good for me. It'll help me feel better. It'll get me in shape. I will start doing that. So you start exercising more. And then you think, well, I'm struggling a little bit with my weight, or my weight doesn't come off as easily as it used to. So I will just reduce more calories. So you do that. You probably start putting your calories and your food and your expenditures from your exercise into some kind of app, and you track it, and you start to just become obsessed with those numbers and thinking that this magic formula of calories in and calories out will be the answer to all your problems. You actually might create some level of disordered eating. Okay, you might start to become obsessive about what you're putting in your mouth, how many calories you're burning, and you might become preoccupied with it. This leads to more and adds to more of the frustrations with anxiety and depression. It just becomes a vicious cycle. And we end up by just feeling worse. During this stage, stage 1, you also might notice that you're getting sick more often with colds, flu, allergies, things like that. You might start to catch every little bug that's known to man. All right, so the next stage, it's stage 2. Okay, so now we finally seek out help because we're having some awareness that this isn't really normal and I could really use some help here. So they maybe draw some tests. Maybe they draw a thyroid test because you've heard that, you know, if I'm gaining weight or not able to lose weight and I'm feeling tired, maybe I'm losing some hair, let's test my thyroid. That makes the most sense. And you're hoping that you get a thyroid diagnosis. So they test your thyroid and everything comes back normal, but you don't know what those test results are. You don't even know what they're testing. You just are told that all of your test and your lab results are normal. So you just get told that things are normal. You need to get used to this normal, and you're just feeling this way because you're getting older, and it's just how it is. It's just what happens when we age. But it's okay, because there's a medication for that, whatever that is. There's antidepressants, there's anti-anxieties, there's weight loss medications, there's medications to deal with blood sugar imbalance. You can do all of those things, and they'll let you do that, no problem. The problem is, though, it doesn't actually deal with the root cause of what is going on, but you don't know what that is at this point. All right, so then stage 3, you just keep struggling. You keep struggling. You want to do more. You become more of everything that I've already mentioned. You become more depressed. You become more anxious. You become more dissatisfied with your body composition. You might crave more. You might exercise more, but feel more tired from that. You aren't able to manage stress very well. Anything that comes your way, it might be a day-to-day mundane thing that's part of your job. It might be dealing with your kids. It might be, dealing with traffic, going to the grocery store. All of that is very stressful to you. And it sounds so silly and stupid because it is just a day-to-day thing. But the thought of doing those day-to-day things kind of puts you over the edge. Okay, so you have very poor stress management skills. Your cravings are peaking. You need to, or think you need to, eat every couple hours. You might get diagnosed from someone else, another specialist, with a gut health disorder. Maybe you end up being diagnosed with an autoimmune condition like celiac disease. You might be diagnosed with clinical depression and get on, another antidepressant. And then the other thing I hear about a lot is that thyroid patients are anemic. But again, we don't know we are a thyroid patient yet. So we're told we're anemic and then told to take over-the-counter iron, which gives us horrible side effects. If you've taken that, you know what I'm talking about. Major nausea and major constipation. Not fun when you're already struggling with how you're feeling. All right, so stage 4. So you bring yourself back to the doctor. You're trying to find someone who you think might relate to you. I know for myself, I went to female doctors primarily. I thought they might understand it. And if you are a female listening to this and you're dealing with irregular monthly cycles and you have really hard monthly cycles where it's painful and it's a lot and you don't dare to leave your house and you have to be prepared all the time for accidents with your cycle, that is definitely a real part of it, but it's okay because the thought is you can just go on birth control pills and it'll take care of it. Not understanding that if you do that, on one hand, you want to do that because you're so desperate to be able to function normally every month, but you do that and then down the road, it wreaks havoc on your other hormone symptoms and it just keeps exacerbating any symptoms you already have. All right, so you bring yourself into that doctor, you might be on prescription birth control, you might be on medications for depression, anxiety, you might have been told you have an autoimmune condition, you don't handle stress well. So we've got all of these things. And then finally, and this could take up to 10 years. It could take more than 10 years to get an actual diagnosis. You find that one person who will relate to you, hopefully, and that they will actually test more than just one thyroid marker. They will test maybe 2 thyroid markers and it will give you a different picture. And if you were lucky, you'll get a full panel. I just don't see that very often myself. And I know I didn't. So you might finally get a diagnosis of hypothyroidism. You might be in the high end of that range. And so they might just say, well, do you want to be on medications for this? They might give you an option to be on a medication. They might not just say you need to be on the medication for this because you're just not that far out of the normal range. So a lot of people say, well, I don't want to be on another medication. So they don't take it. And then their symptoms get worse and worse and worse. Sometimes people end up with an autoimmune thyroid condition Usually it's after a trigger of a like hardcore stress that someone has dealt with. It might be pregnancy. It might be something with a job deadline. It might be a move. It might be a divorce. It might be something really catastrophic. And 2 years down the road, you could be diagnosed with an autoimmune condition. And there is that thyroid autoimmune condition called Hashimoto's. So you start taking the medication that you get from your thyroid diagnosis, and you start to feel better until you don't. So you get a little taste of leveling out, starting to feel a little bit better, and then eventually it's not really doing the trick because you have not dealt with all of the other things that go into supporting that thyroid gland in the root cause way. All right. So the things that you need to do to deal with those thyroid symptoms are manyfold. It's not just about replacing the thyroid hormone that you need when you are dealing with hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's. You need to deal with inflammation. You need to deal with blood sugar. You need to deal with stress management. This is all done actually quite easily. It's simple. It's sometimes not always easy to implement because you don't even know what you're supposed to do. And so my suggestion is for you to find someone like me to work with. If it's not me, find someone else who will take you through the process. I have a methodical step-by-step approach that allows you to go through this process and deal with the thyroid symptoms as they come up. Therefore, your medications will actually work better. And I've actually seen hypothyroid patients or Hashimoto's patients in the early stages that don't have to take medication anymore. And it's not like Synthroid or Armour or any other thyroid medication is the worst thing in the world to have to take. I am on it for life. I need to be. There are some people, if caught early enough, don't actually have to stay on them if you know what you're doing and get to the root cause, deal with those things and maintain those things, and also dealing with your doctor and getting tested regularly. All right, so when you find someone that will actually help you out, this is stage 5, all right? Find someone like me who's actually been there, who actually has the education behind it as well, to help you overcome this thyroid fatigue, the depression, the anxiety, the feelings of laziness and the lack of motivation, and you blame yourself because you don't have enough willpower or whatever it is, and whatever you've told yourself. You don't have to restrict calories. You don't have to overexercise to get your energy back. You don't necessarily need to be on an antidepressant or anti-anxiety medication. That is just not how it has to be. We are told that those are your options. I'm not saying it's not an option, and I'm not saying you should never be on those medications. I'm saying that in order to overcome the symptoms that you've been struggling with for maybe 10, 20 years, I've heard people up to 20 years not having a diagnosis, and waiting to feel better until the right medication comes along for any of those things, it's not going to happen. So this is a little bit of a tough love conversation, I guess. And I'm just trying to help you shortcut your journey back to health, because mine took far too long, and I am not known for my patience, as people who know me well will attest to. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I kept relying on the people who I was seeking out help because they were the experts in things, but it turns out thyroid practice, thyroid medicine, medical practice isn't really conducive to actually helping you overcome. It seems like the data and the testing and the recommendations by our mainstream medical system are a little bit antiquated. There are so many other things at play here, and you will not be told this. Do you know how many times I've been told by people I've been working with and myself that what I eat and what they eat doesn't affect how they feel? I have been told that numerous times, and my jaw is on the floor, that these highly trained, highly educated individuals who know a ton about biochemistry, they should know more than I do about biochemistry, but they say that the foods which break down into actual nutrients that go into the physiological processes in our body don't affect how we feel. It is unbelievable to me. So I am asking that you get on a call with me to see if my program, the Thyroid Reset Method, is a good fit for you. This method is basically what I did to get myself better. I just took a long time to do it because I was figuring it out all on my own, but now it's in a special container just for you and many of the clients that have gone through this already. And this is how I've been practicing since I started my practice, where I help people get to those root causes and heal themselves so they can optimize their thyroid function, and then they can optimize their life. And if thyroid fatigue, anxiety, depression, and all those things are something that you deal with and struggle with all day long, and it affects you living your full and vibrant life, then this program would be for you. You know, if you are sick and tired of just doing the same old thing, reducing your calories, exercising more, all of those things, if you're tired of that because you still feel the same way 1, 2, 5, or 10 years later, it's time to do something different. So when I was at that stage, what I ended up by doing was just saying, to hell with it. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to buy all the groceries I need. I'm going to spend the money on any special food that I needed. And at that time, it was a little bit harder than it is now, a lot harder than it is now. I invested in someone who actually understood what I was going through. And when I went to that person who practiced in a functional way and could understand what I've been dealing with and struggling with for so long with my thyroid and the lack thereof once I got diagnosed with a thyroid cancer, actually, and then the hypothyroidism that came from that. Once I found that person and they said, no wonder you feel the way you feel after looking at some of my lab results, I cried because finally someone understood and told me that what I was feeling was legitimate and that I wasn't crazy, I wasn't lazy, I wasn't unmotivated. It wasn't that I didn't have enough willpower. It was because biochemically, physiologically, underlying, my thyroid was not going to be functioning very well in the state my body was in. So we needed to correct some other things first. And, you know, within a short amount of time, the light at the end of the tunnel became brighter and brighter and brighter. That gave me more motivation. That gave me more insight into what I needed to do and how I wanted to change my career and help people do what I do now so that they don't have to spend all that time, wasting their money on things that don't work, because there is a system that works for you. But you know, maybe you're not ready for it. Maybe it's not the right timing for you. And that is okay, because there is something to be said for, you know, being so exhausted that you can't even think for yourself right now to make any decisions. And that is totally fine. But I do just totally feel that if you got on the call with me, you would at least see what you could maybe do going forward, and you would have some light, some hope at the end of this tunnel that will get you out of this system, whether it be now or in 6 months from now. So it is worth your time to take this call. It's a half an hour, and this call is just for you and I to decide and to get some insight into what could help you and make you feel better, and how you can help yourselves now and in the future. All right, this program is 12 short weeks. You can make huge strides in just that time, no matter how long you've been dealing with these symptoms. For me, it was years. I can't even say for sure, but at least 10 to 12 years. All right. So I hope you find this helpful. I hope you find this hopeful. And I hope you get some insight into what you can do next. And I just want you to know, out of all the things I've said, I just want you to know that there is hope and you can get better. You can come out on the other side of this and feel amazing and have a ton of energy and live a full and vibrant life. All right. So I'll be back next week for more information. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have an awesome day.